The ballroom was silent except for the sound of clinking glasses and the echo of polished shoes against marble. Crystal chandeliers cast their golden light across tuxedos and shimmering gowns, highlighting the faces of some of the world's most powerful people. Billionaires, CEOs, politicians, and foreign dignitaries filled the hall. This was not just a gala, it was the stage where fortunes were built, deals were struck, and reputations were cemented. Yet, in the middle of this grandeur, a quiet, unassuming figure stood, his suit a little too plain, his shoes scuffed, and his eyes carrying the weight of wars fought and sacrifices made. His name was Daniel Carter, a single dad, a U.S. Army veteran, and a man who never expected to be in such a place. But destiny has a strange way of bringing ordinary souls face to face with extraordinary tests. And on this night, Daniel would be tested in a way that would shake an empire, humble arrogance, and prove once again that true worth cannot be measured in bank accounts or titles. Before I take you deeper into this story of heartbreak, humiliation, and an unexpected twist of fate, I want to pause and ask you something. If you believe that kindness, respect, and second chances matter more than money and power, then please take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who might need hope, and subscribe to Ripple of Hope. Together, we can remind the world that no act of dignity or compassion ever goes unnoticed. Daniel's journey had not been an easy one. He had served 3 tours overseas, carrying his brothers in arms through deserts and cities torn apart by violence. He came home with scars, some visible on his skin, many invisible, buried deep in his heart. His wife, unable to endure the silence of his nightmares and the financial struggles that followed, left him 2 years after his return. That left him with his daughter, Emma, a sweet 10-year-old girl with big brown eyes and a smile that could melt the coldest day. She was his reason to keep going. His reason to wake up despite the pain. His reason to endure. But being a single father and a veteran was no easy feat. Civilians spoke words of gratitude, but the job market showed none. Daniel took small construction gigs, security shifts, and odd jobs, often working until his body ached, just to keep a roof over their heads. And yet, through it all, he promised Emma that one day he would give her the life she deserved, the life of safety, stability, and dignity he had fought for overseas but struggled to secure back home. So when an old army buddy, now working for a philanthropic foundation, invited Daniel to a gala where donors and investors were gathering for a massive charity initiative for veterans, Daniel hesitated. He didn't belong in such a glittering hall. His suit was borrowed, his shoes polished as best he could, and he had no business cards, no company name, no grand legacy to present. But he had one thing most men in that hall lacked, an idea. An idea born from sleepless nights and the desperate desire to create something meaningful not just for himself, but for countless veterans like him. He wanted to build a network that connected struggling ex-soldiers to stable work opportunities, mental health counseling, and mentorship. He dreamed of giving veterans the dignity of independence. Inside the hall, Daniel felt out of place. He saw champagne flowing like rivers, million-dollar smiles flashing across the room, and conversations filled with words he didn't understand: venture capital, leverage, mergers, billion-dollar valuations. He stood quietly in a corner, clutching the folder that contained his handwritten notes, the blueprint of his dream. He rehearsed silently, reminding himself that he was not there to impress with money, but to speak from the heart. That's when it happened. A tall, immaculately dressed man approached him. His watch glistened like a lighthouse beacon, his shoes were handmade, and his confidence filled the air like perfume. He was Marcus Hale, a billionaire CEO known for his ruthless business tactics and his empire that stretched across industries. People whispered his name with a mix of fear and admiration. Marcus prided himself on spotting weakness instantly, and Daniel, with his borrowed suit and unsure smile, looked like the perfect target. Marcus asked Daniel why he was there. Daniel, nervous but steady, explained his vision for veterans, how he wanted to build a system to give them hope and practical help. He spoke of sacrifice, of brothers who never made it home, of promises left unfulfilled. His voice trembled, but his sincerity shone through. For a brief second, the nearby guests leaned in, sensing something real amidst the rehearsed pitches and cold statistics that filled the night. Then Marcus laughed. Loudly. Cruelly. "Are you serious?" he said, his voice booming enough for others to hear. "You stand here, in a billion-dollar gala, talking about some charity fantasy with nothing but a cheap suit and a sob story? This is business, not a therapy session. You veterans think the world owes you something. Truth is, you're just too stupid to survive in the real world." The words hung in the air like poison. Some people gasped softly, others turned away, embarrassed by the cruelty but unwilling to challenge a man of Marcus's power. Daniel felt his cheeks burn. His throat tightened. He wanted to defend himself, but years of humiliation, rejection, and the fear of losing everything made his voice falter. He thought of Emma, of how he had promised her he would never let anyone make him feel small again. And yet, here he was, in front of the rich and powerful, reduced to nothing more than a punchline. But fate was listening. Unbeknownst to Marcus, one of the guests observing the exchange was Elizabeth Warren Field, not the senator, but a self-made billionaire investor who controlled one of the largest global conglomerates. She was scheduled to finalize a $3.5 billion partnership with Marcus Hale's company that very night. She had spent years evaluating his numbers, his strategies, and his empire. But what she had been looking for, beyond spreadsheets and projections, was something deeper: character. And in that single moment, Marcus revealed everything she needed to know. Elizabeth walked over, her presence commanding attention. She looked at Daniel first, her eyes soft but steady, then at Marcus with a coldness that could freeze steel. She asked Daniel to repeat his vision. Trembling, he did. But this time, Elizabeth listened, not just to the words, but to the pain, the hope, and the integrity woven into them. She saw not a poor veteran, but a man of resilience, authenticity, and heart. When he finished, she turned to Marcus and said, in front of everyone, "Character is the foundation of leadership. And I do not invest in arrogance. Mr. Hale, our deal is off." The ballroom fell into stunned silence. Marcus's face drained of color as whispers rippled across the room. Elizabeth turned back to Daniel, extended her hand, and said, "Let's talk tomorrow. I think your idea has more value than you realize." And just like that, Marcus Hale lost a $3.5 billion deal in front of the world. His laughter had cost him everything. For Daniel, it was the turning point. Elizabeth kept her word. She funded his initiative, connected him with advisors, and within a year, Daniel's vision became reality. Thousands of veterans found jobs, counseling, and mentorship through the program. Daniel's life changed, not because he was the smartest man in the room, but because he was the most genuine. Emma looked at her father with pride, knowing that his perseverance had built something extraordinary. And as for Marcus Hale, his arrogance became his undoing. News of the gala spread like wildfire, headlines exposing his cruelty and Elizabeth's bold stand. He watched as his empire slowly eroded, investors pulling away, employees leaving, his legacy reduced to a cautionary tale, that power without humility leads to ruin. Daniel proved that even in a world obsessed with money and power, the greatest strength lies in dignity, kindness, and an unshakable heart. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that respect and humanity matter more than wealth, then please like this video, share it with someone you love, and subscribe to Ripple of Hope. Let's keep telling stories that uplift, inspire, and remind us of the goodness that still exists in the world. And before we end, I want to ask you something special. Drop a comment below and tell us what respect means to you. Your words might just inspire someone else who needs to hear them today.